how like the events up in her life, like how Fadak was taken away from her, and how she like was grieving after her father's passing, and the relationship between each other.
Yeah, so we talked about her biography. Yeah, we mentioned about her biography. And we talked about obviously the what happened in her life. We talked about her and her father, and we also talked about after the passing away of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we mentioned the occurrences in her life. So before that passing and afterwards, yeah, and we did mention the Fadak, yeah, and also we talked about Bibi Fatima salam alayha in hadith. We talked about her in the narrations, yeah. And what was some of the narrations that we talked about Bibi Fatima? I gave you like some titles, yeah. And I said like, yeah.
He had the title of Biha, which means mother of her father, and Zahra, which means luminous.
Yeah. Mostly, do you remember any other? Because I gave you a hadith challenge in that episode, remember? Yeah. And I mentioned some of the areas, yeah, which you could relate to get a hadith from. So like a title or something like that. One of the titles was probably about the daughters and your sons in hadith. One of the titles was probably about Imam Ali and faith. Remember all these titles that I said. So these all was related to hadith, and we mentioned those hadiths, which all in some way related to Bibi Fatima salam alayha. Yeah, and also one big one was with Hadith Kisa, where all these personalities, the Ahlul Bayt, was introduced through Bibi Fatima salam alayha, just to know the how much important she was. Yeah, and looking into her life and looking at some of the injustices that occurred towards her. Yeah, this is probably why the next stage of us learning in this period about living a halal life, the next most important thing then to look at is about being just, adl. Yeah, so hopefully we can get onto that. Yeah. Can any of you remember anything that we've mentioned in this series talking about living a halal life up to this point?
We mentioned music and its effects, and to not like cheating others and why it's bad.
Okay.
We mentioned the service to humanity, the care for environment, and a couple of others.
Yeah, and earning a halal livelihood. These things and that all came under living a halal life. Hopefully, at the end, we've come up to this. Yeah, and a lot of the occurrence in this is akhlaq and behavior as well. Yeah, which we would obviously get into this as well. So, can we start most enough with the last salawat? Allahumma salli ala
Muhammad. If Islam asks us to be fair to our planet, to Allah's creation, then we should remember that man is also Allah's creation. So obviously we should be fair to people too. Since this kind of consideration is also a service to humanity, an aspect of morality is taught by Islam. All men are equal, rich or poor, black or white. This is a basic principle that Islam has always taught. If people are equal in the eyes of Allah, then they must be treated with equality. This is why it is very important to be fair and just when you are making a decision that affects other people. The story below shows an example of just this. There was a man who was journeying towards Kufa. When he arrived in Kufa, he decided to to be a guest of Imam Ali for a number of days. He stayed with the Imam without divulging purpose of his visit, and Imam salam did not ask either. Finally, the man asked, "I have a dispute with a particular party here, and I've come to get it settled. Would you act as an abbreviator, judge?" Imam salam said, You are party to the dispute, aren't you?" "Yes," the man replied. Then you cannot expect me to be your abbreviator. If you wanted me to decide your case, you should not have become my guest. The Prophet ﷺ said, "When a person has been appointed judge or an abbreviator in a case, he had no right to play host or to either of the two sides, except when they are both invited together. Justice starts within your own self. You cannot fool yourself about what you're doing. If you can just be with yourself, then it's easier to be with others." Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Muhammad wajifat. So Mohsin, first of all, he talks about how we've already talked about, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has talked to us about being fair to our planet, yeah, and being fair to the creation on our planet as well, yeah. So also, one of us being Allah's creation as well, all of us being Allah's creation, yeah, we need to have this justice between each other as well, yeah. And so Moses then goes into a story about Imam Ali alayhi salam. Misbah, what was this meaning of this story?
The meaning was that if he has come to like stay with him and then ask to be the judge, he can't expect him to be the arbitrator, because he couldn't have come to be his guest and like favor for his side, and without like you can't like play host to one of the sides, like him, without showcasing the other side of it and actually like proving about the other side and what they saying.
Yeah. So it showed there's a lot of aspects of justice as well, which all need to be catered for. Yeah. And Misbah, you got the next one, so we can start Misbah with Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Imam Ali has said that he's the most one that does justice upon himself without anyone else to judge him. When we make decisions concerning other people, we have to decide between what we feel is right and wrong, not between our friends and enemies. It doesn't even matter if family is involved. What is important is that the truth must be told. The Holy Quran explains this to us. You who believe, stand out firmly for justice as witnesses to Allah, even as against yourselves or your parents or your family, and whether it be against rich or poor, for Allah can best protect both. Follow not the lust of your heart in case you swerve, and if you distort justice or decline to do justice, verily God is well acquainted with all that you do. This verse does not mean that you have the right to be disrespectful to your parents or family. It means that if you see them being unjust, you should not side with them and discourage the injustice if you can. If you feel that it will be difficult for you not to take sides in the decision, then ask someone else to make the decision. Islam has explained this to us, how important it is to be fair. Only those people who do not believe in Allah or who do not care about what Allah says practice injustice. The hypocrites, men and women, have an understanding with each other. They enjoin evil and forbid what is unjust, and are close with their hands. They have forgotten God, so He has forgotten them. Allah commands us that we must be just. If we try to cheat or be unfair, then how can we expect Allah to treat us fairly on the Day of Judgment? God commands justice, the doing of good, and liberality to kith and kin, and He forbids all shameful deeds and injustice and rebellion. He instructs you that you may receive admonition. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Thanks for that, Misbah. So there, Misbah went over the hadith and obviously verses of the Holy Quran about being just and the importance of being just. Yeah, Muslim. What's the first thing that Misbah narrates in there? What's she talking about?
She narrates one thing that Imam Ali has said. He is the most just man that does justice upon himself without anyone else to judge him.
Yeah. So if we look into this and think about this, yeah, what do you think Imam Ali is saying there? What do you think he's trying to tell people?
I'm trying to tell people that if you're trying to do justice on other people, you should also do justice upon yourself.
Okay. Misbah, what else?
He's like saying that if he can't just like the most just man is someone who, when he does wrong things, he knows that he has done it and he can speak and believe, openly say that he's done it without anyone else to like judge him or anything. So like he can just
Yeah.
openly say.
So without the most just man, he's talking about someone, the most um, just person, yeah, is someone that is able to not judge other people, not try to pick bits on other people, not them first, not the other people first, but himself first, and able to understand what injustices that he's done, yeah, and hopefully able to correct this first, yeah, and fix this injustice first before trying to fix any out justice, yeah. So, Imam Ali alayhi salam is advising us, telling us to look into ourselves and fix the injustices that we commit and that we do, yeah. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then talks about where Misbah then mentions the other verses of the Holy Quran, yeah. Misbah, can you say the first verse that you mentioned there?
You who believe, stand out firmly for justice as witnesses to Allah, even as against yourselves or your parents or your family, and whether it be against rich or poor, for Allah can best protect both. Follow not the lusts of your hearts in case you swerve, and if you distort justice or decline to do justice, verily God is well acquainted with all that you do.
Yeah. Muslim, what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explaining to people here?
He's saying, for the believers, stand. You should stand firmly for justice, because you're witness to Allah. So you have to stand against. You have to stand for justice, even if it's for yourselves or for your parents or for your family, or if it's even if you're rich or you're poor, you have to still stand firmly for justice and do not follow the lust of your heart. So don't follow what your heart tells. Don't go after desires, like something that will cause injustice for another person. So it's how you
Yeah,
just stand firmly for justice, even if it be against yourself
yeah.
or other people.
So there's the idea that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us wherever you see injustice, you have to stand against it. Yeah? Anywhere you see any injustice, you have to stand against it. Any single way. Whether you see it in yourself, like Imam Ali alayhi salam is telling us in the first ahadith, yeah? Purpose in ourselves, or you see it in people around you, yeah, your friends, your family, or if you see it above you or even below you, whether it be the rich or the poor, yeah, wherever you see this injustice, yeah, you have to go in a proactive way to tell people about it and also try to correct this injustice as well, yeah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then talks about not to follow the desires of your heart, because um, what do you think that might refer to? Your I'm looking
Greed.
for a word here. Muslim would say greed. Okay, Misra, what about you? When
Nafs.
okay, what if I said the word bias? Do any of you know what that means? Bias.
But like when you favor one over the other.
Yeah, but if you're biased in an argument, what are you?
You're more
You are
one-sided.
favoring. Yeah, you're more one-sided. Whether that be it's due to could be due to a number of things, but you could be biased in something. Yeah. So Allah, in one aspect, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is referring to that bias as well. Yeah, and He understands that um, if we have to, if we adjust it, if we want to be just, we have to try to remove this bias. Yeah, and that's why in the explanation that Misbah gave under that, she also talked about bias. Mohsin, what did she mention about the bias in there?
Uh, she, she, yes. Oh, wait. Uh, wait. Let me find it. I think
If,
this one, the
if
hypocrites, the men and women, have an understanding with each other. They join in evil and
that's the
forgive.
narration afterwards. That's the narration afterwards.
Oh,
But in Misbah's explanation, she talks about if you feel that it will be difficult for you to take sides, for you to not take sides in a decision, then ask someone else to make the decision. So we have to, if we want to, one of the aspects of being just is to remove our biases. Yeah. Okay. Misbah also talked about an explanation where saying that um, that uh, that we don't have the right to be disrespectful to our parents or family. Yeah. What is she talking about there? If we see injustice, yeah, and maybe our parents are doing it or our family are doing it, yeah. Why can't we just clearly say to them in any way that you're being unjust? Why would that be? That we can't just do that?
Because they're your family, they're close to you, and you feel like maybe if you take sides, they're not gonna. If you like, actually, if you don't take their side, they're gonna like not like you anymore. Or
Okay. Why? But if we see any injustice, whether that be in our family, yeah, why can't we say in any way? Why can't we say in any way and clearly show them this injustice? Why is there a way to show it? Mohsin, what do you think?
um,
Why can't we
I,
just say in any?
I think so. I think you can. You can stand up for justice if it is in your family, but there's a way which you can approach it, which doesn't come up,
Yeah,
doesn't
there's
come
an
across
etiquette
as
and a way
rude.
to approach it. Yeah, and we are gonna get into that.
Yeah.
Just before we continue, we have to go into a break. So thanks for everyone watching, and we'll see you after the break. Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to Future Stars Live on Hidayat TV. Just to remind you, our topic is being adil, being just. And before the break, we started to talk about a little bit about Misbah explained to us. So Misbah, could you just go through what you have just told us, and then we're able to go through it. Go through what we've already said just before the break, actually.
We went through how even if it's like families can't take sides, and you still gotta like if they're in the wrong, you've gotta like tell them that they're wrong and show that that's the wrong side and this one's right.
Yeah. So we were talking about a verse of the Holy Quran where Allah Subhanahu wa Taala talks about being just, yeah, and telling us wherever we witness injustice that we have to call it out for its injustice, yeah, whether that be with our family or our friends, or whether that be the poor or the rich or any institution which we see any injustice. If we see injustice anywhere, we should call it out for it. Yeah. But when we try, if we see when people gave an explanation, if we see any injustice in our family, yeah, what is what is the etiquette towards that? What should we have to do if ever we see injustice in our family? Most definitely, it's very. Yeah, Martin, you go first.
I was gonna say you should always stand. You should always stand against. You should always stand for justice, and you should approach it in a certain way because they're your family, and you don't want them to be upset or anything. So you have to approach it in a certain way that doesn't offend anybody or doesn't come out or across as rude or ill-mannered.
Yeah, and also Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and even if we look, yeah, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has told us, and the Prophet and the Imams have told us that with our family, there's rights of our family, especially if we're talking to our parents. Yeah, if we may believe that any injustice that our parents have done to other people, yeah, or even maybe if you really feel it towards yourself, yeah, there is a very, very respectful way that you need to approach it. Yeah, very, very respectful way that you need to approach it. If you believe that they're doing any injustice to anyone else, yeah, or yourself, or any, because you're supposed to call out injustice anyway, yeah. And if you feel like okay, you feel like your parents have done this injustice, but remember, when we look at Islam, we take everything, don't we? Yeah, we don't pick and choose to follow certain things. Yeah, when you follow Islam, you follow the whole of Islam. Yeah, we don't follow certain bits and leave out others. Yeah, and what does Allah Subhanahu wa Taala and the Prophets and the Imams talk about towards our parents? What do they say? Mohsin or Misbah, any one of you?
They say to like respect your parents and to not like disobey them.
Yeah, and the famous narration of the Holy Prophet where you're not even allowed to say "uff" to your mother. Yeah. So these things are important. We take the whole of Islam. We don't pick and choose parts to do. Yeah. So where it comes out to, if you may see injustice, yeah, you may see injustice. Maybe you're, I doubt it, but maybe if someone who might be watching, or anyone who is a Muslim, who's a son, who's a son of anyone, and you see injustices happen, and you see your parents do this, yeah, there's even a way to approach your parents, yeah. So, but fortunately, many of us are not in a situation like that where we have to approach our parents, because our parents in this community are really nice, are really caring, and tell us and teach us about Islam properly, yeah. But Islam comes to teach everything, and teaches everyone. So there's always aspects that we need to know about our religion as well, which might not necessarily affect us. Yeah. So obviously there's an etiquette, especially towards your family, where you need to approach looking for standing up for injustice. Yeah, standing up for justice. And when it regards to other people, yeah, there's obviously an Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Islam has explained us that it's important to be fair, isn't it? Yeah. And we talked a little bit about bias before the break as well. What did we mention about bias?
We mentioned it being like favoring one person's side to another in like a debate or something for like a certain reason.
Yeah. So we see if I give you maybe an example, we see maybe in places of power, yeah, people who have to make laws and have to make rules, yeah, they in their laws, in their rules, might favor themselves or their community, yeah, because they have this bias, yeah, they want to help themselves, and but bias can comes in other things as well. That's probably an extreme part of bias. But bias, we could obviously not um, we could inflict injustice because of bias. Yeah, if we favor one side than the other, and we're not able to see the both arguments, yeah, that is not justice, is it? Yeah. So Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has explained us that it is important to be fair, and if we stop any biases, then we are able to start to implement justice. Yeah. So, Mohsin, what was the next verse of the Holy Quran that Misbah gave?
Yeah, is it the hypocrites, men and women? Are you talking about that? Have an
The hypocrite.
understanding with each other. Have an understanding with each other. They enjoin evil and forbid what unjust, and they are close with their hands. They have forgotten God, so He has forgotten them.
Yeah. So, what is Allah Subhanahu wa Taala talking about here? What is He mentioning?
He's talking about the people who are hypocrites, and so that can include men and women. They have an understanding among each other, and they enjoin in evil and forbid just, and they are close to their hands, and then so they have forgotten God, and so God has forgotten them.
Okay. So these people are doing opposite of what Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has told us. What has Allah Subhanahu wa Taala told us to do? What?
To enjoin injustice, stand firmly for justice, and
Here,
yeah.
here, it's the opposite of Amr bin Maruf and Nahy anil Munkar, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So here, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is talking about the people who do the opposite of the branches of our religion, of the actions that we need to do in our religion. One of the actions that we need to do in our religion, yeah, two of them are Amr bin Maruf and Nahy anil Munkar. Yeah. What are these two? What are the meaning of these two?
To enjoin in good and to discourage people from doing bad.
Yeah. So Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is talking about people here who do the opposite of those things. We are talking about people here who endorse doing bad things, doing things against Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, doing things that are haram, and forbid doing things which are halal, doing things which please Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Yeah. And these people have forgotten God. So Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has forgotten them. Yeah. So here Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is telling us, yeah. So one of the things that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has told us and we've talked about is being just. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about people who do the total opposite. Yeah? And we can link this to the Day of Judgment. Yeah, how can we link this to the Day of Judgment?
Because on the Day of Judgment, nobody will be wrong. Then justice will be served for everyone, and
Yeah.
so the people who've done wrong, then they'll be
So
punished for what they did.
Mitzvah's explanation, yeah, she explained that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us to do what must be just. If we try to cheat or be unfair, then how can we expect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to treat us fairly on the Day of Judgment? Yeah? This all comes onto the judgment that we would face on the Day of Judgment. Yeah? So hopefully we are not in the category, yeah, where we're doing the opposite of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us to do. This injustice, this is an injustice as well also. Doing the opposite of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us to do. Yeah, that is also an injustice. To enjoin evil and forbid what is just, yeah, that is a big injustice as well. What was the next verse Misbah brought up and showed us?
God commands justice, the doing of good, and the liberality to kith and kin, and He forbids all shameful deeds and injustice and rebellion. He instructs you that you may receive salvation.
Yeah. What is he talking about there? What has he mentioned?
He's saying that he commands justice, the doing of good, and he forbids all shameful deeds. He instructs you. He instructs you that you may receive his admonition.
Yeah.
So
He's saying that we have to be just and do good, and if we and he forbids. He says that we are not allowed to do all these bad deeds. We have to stick to the good and stick on the right path.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the last verse which Misbah has showed us is, "O you who believe, stand firmly for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for God, as witness to fair dealings, and let not the hatred of others to you make you swerve to wrong and depart from justice. Be just, that is next to piety, and fear God, for God is well acquainted all that you do." Yeah? So this is a wrap up and a wind up of all that we're talking about with being just. Yeah? And we get our idea of being just from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the Quran, which is one of the things that Bibi Fatima salam alayha used herself, the Quran, for her stand up against justice as well. Yeah? And here it talks about justice being next to piety. Yeah, we know and understand that being pious is the way to gain and gain sawab and being giving pleasure to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah, something that makes Allah so happy is being pious. Yeah, and next to that is the same. It's equal of being pious, which makes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala happy and pleased with you. It's equal is also standing up for injustice as well. Yeah, stand firmly for justice. Yeah, these are two which pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the same equal level. Yeah, so hopefully we understood that and we're able to implement it into our life. Hopefully you can at home live a halal life at home as well. So so I just want to explain the importance of this message, and hopefully we are able to attain some important knowledge from this message and able to implement it into our life. I learn a lot. Hopefully you at home learn a lot as well, and we'll see you next week, same time, same place on Hidayat TV. But until then, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.